What's up everybody, Solid S Boss coming at you once again with another video. This video I'm going to be carrying on with my series Stomping onto Godzilla vs Kong, where I give you my thoughts on every movie leading up to Godzilla vs Kong, with today's video being dedicated to my thoughts on the second movie in the franchise, Kong Skull Island. So, Kong Skull Island. I'm going to go right in and start talking about this movie straight away. First of all, I'm going to start with the characters. So, imagine you're me, going back, 2 to 3 years before the movie's released, and they announce it, and they tell, this is the cast. Wow, what a cast. John Goodman, Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, John C. Reilly, and before he left, Michael Keaton was meant to be part of this, but yeah, he left. So, going into it, expectations in terms of characters were high for me. And did they hit expectations? Not really. I mean, they weren't bad. They were serviceable. They were acceptable. They could have been worse. They could have been better. Sort of a middle ground. Bit of exposition fodder. My personal favourite character, John C. Reilly. Least favourite, maybe Samuel L. Jackson. And I'll tell you, Samuel L. Jackson's character was just a bit too cliche for me. He just wants to kill stuff at the end of the day. In my opinion, I think they should have revolved the story around John Goodman and Corey Hawkins' character. The scientist, the guy who wants to discover, the guy who wants knowledge. I think that is far more interesting than seeing Tom Hiddleston's former SAS guy and Samuel L. Jackson's cliche army guy. And Brie Larson as well. I mean, she's probably a little less cliche, but still cliche nonetheless. She's part of the anti-war movement, and her job is to promote anti-war, and we haven't seen that as much as we've seen other parts, but in other movies. But it's still not that interesting. For me, they could have done a little bit better with the characters, focused elsewhere, because it doesn't really impact on the story. Because there isn't really that much of a story. The story is Kong. It's just these guys are on an island and they're trying to leave. That's it. There's nothing else that has to be revolved around Tom Hiddleston's character, or has to be revolved around Samuel L. Jackson's character. It should have been just the scientists, and they should have been the main characters. I was just a little bit disappointed with that. But overall, to move the plot along, it's fine. If I had to give a score, maybe a 6 out of 10. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just okay. So the monsters. Going to talk about Kong really first. Now, what you have to understand is, when this movie was announced, I don't believe they had Godzilla vs Kong in the mind. But when they did announce that it would be in the same universe as Godzilla 2014, as almost like a prequel, every fan went mental. Every fan thought, oh my god, Godzilla vs Kong is going to happen. I always thought that it would be a little bit of a tester, to be honest. A little bit of, can we make this movie so if the fans want it, we can make Godzilla vs Kong, and if they don't like it, then it's fine. We've just done a Kong movie. And it fits because monsters exist in this universe, you know what I mean? So it's one of those. So the fact that they have him upright, he's not like King Kong, Peter Jackson's King Kong. He stands on 2 feet. He's not like a gorilla. He's his own species of ape, really. And I love that. I wouldn't say it's definitive. I believe that King Kong 2005 is definitive, but that's just my opinion. If I think of King Kong, I think of Peter Jackson's, actual gorilla, which I love. But again, I do love this design still, and to be fair, he had to be like this if he was going to do a Godzilla vs Kong, because if you had a silverback gorilla, on all fours, and he was still the size of Kong like that, when he stood up, he'd be too big. But yeah, I do love this design. I feel it looks like Kong. At the end of the day, it looks like a Kong that would fight Godzilla. And the skull crawlers, I'm going to talk about those next. And I spoke about in Godzilla 2014 review that I didn't feel like the Mutos were inspired. They were based, like I said, it was every Western monster, movie monster we have seen. It was Cloverfield Monster, it was Super 8, and they were just a little bit boring. Not that I didn't like them, but they were just boring. Every other monster in Kong Skull Island, so inspired. I don't know the names of them all, but so you've got that sort of cowball looking with the big horns. That was really cool. You got the spidery ones that looks like Kimonga. That was brilliant. And again, the skull crawlers. And I never would have thought to do something like the skull crawlers. Just a tail with 2 legs and a crocodile mouth. It's so brilliant and it's so simple. Like, you haven't got to reinvent the wheel when it comes to monster designs. You just got to think outside the box. These things can look weird because the skull crawlers do look weird, but they would be weird, wouldn't they? We don't know, but you know, it's one of those. I personally thought these monster designs were spot on. Yeah, so again, with the monsters, I think they hit the nail right on the head 100%, and it was fantastic. So the story as a whole, now in terms of characters, there really isn't one. It's characters go to an island, characters try to get off the island. That's pretty much it. There's a little bit in between, but it's nothing of note. The story really is about Kong. Now, slight spoiler here, so if you want to get off this video, I'm going to give you 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so it's all about following Kong, and you know, with the death of Kong's parents, all that weight is on his shoulders to protect the inhabitants of the island against those who wish them harm, the skull crawlers. And his just constant battle is excellent. You can, every time you have an interaction with Kong, you can feel that weight on his shoulders. You know, the facial expressions, it's brilliant. And I think like the special effects department and the story writing have hit the nail on the head. It was brilliant. So fair play to them. But yeah, there's not really much of a story to speak of. It's just a coming of age movie for Kong where he's getting stronger and stronger and he's still growing, and he fights the big one that killed his parents. So there's not really much to talk about in the rest of the story. It just is what it is. The characters are exposition fodder. But as a whole, I think it's probably the best movie in the franchise so far. I mean, if I had to pick my favourite, it would still be Godzilla 2014. But if I'm talking strictly as a movie fan, you know, and strictly movie fundamentals, I think that Kong Skull Island is the best one. It's got the right balance between monster fight and human interaction. Just because the human interactions are bad or, you know, average doesn't mean that there isn't enough of them or there's too much of them. I think got it spot on. Whereas the other movies, I don't believe that did, even with King of the Monsters, but we'll get to that in next week's review. Yeah, I think the balance for this movie was chef's kiss. Brilliant. So I can't really say much else about it, even though it is a little bit hollow in terms of characters. Like I say, the balance is perfect. So that's it for this review. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go and check out my other videos on Godzilla vs Kong. Just a little bit of insight, my thoughts, my theories, my other reviews. I've got Let's Plays as well for other games, so if you haven't already, please go and check those out. Just a little bit different from Godzilla vs Kong, which I'm still going to be talking a lot about over the next week and a half, really, until it's released. It's not long, really, for us UK fans, 1st of April and 31st of March if you're a US fan. So yeah, I try to get these reviews out every Friday before the release, and it's just fit perfectly. So tune in next week for when I review Godzilla King of the Monsters, the final movie before Godzilla vs Kong. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching, and you all take care.